Hi, and now we are starting with the next chapter, the fifth chapter. Just a minute.
Deals with popular struggles and movements. It has covered a worldwide range of movements and struggles that have happened. Just try to understand this chapter. It starts with popular struggle in Nepal and Bolivia. Now, Nepal was a monarchy. You know what happens in a monarchy? There is a king. So the royal family was killed. Each and every member was killed by one of the members of the royal family himself. So an extraordinary movement happened in 2006, and they were mysteriously before that they were mysteriously killed in 2001. The royal family was massacred in cold blood. Now the next king, now King Birendra was actually killed, and there was another uh, kind of person who would be the next king. King Gyanendra was the new king, but he did not accept the democratic rule. And in February 5, what happened? King dismissed the PM. So now, once the established monarchy was gone, the not so popular person became the king, and then he started dismissing the prime minister, who was a democratically elected one. So now there was a popular demand that is given here in 2006 that now there must be uh, a popular form of government which would replace, and the Maoist came. The China intruded into this Nepal. They formed a seven-party alliance, and Maoist, insurgent, and various other organizations joined hands. So people defied curfew, took to street. Now what is happening? After so many upheavals, in 15 it adopted a new constitution. They have made at least 3 to 4 attempts to write their constitution, but they have not yet arrived at consensus because there is a multi-party system. See, a small country that was used to monarchy is now experimenting with democracy with the infusion of Chinese Maoist. So that is becoming very, very difficult for the entire country. In fact, some of the people have said that let us go back to what we were. Let us be the Hindu Rashtra that Nepal was. Nepal was the only Hindu Rashtra in the world ever. So not ever in modern times. So that is what some section is still saying. So they are still experimenting with that. It's been almost more than 10 years. So let us skip this Bolivia water war because that's not at all important for the exam. But what these episodes are telling us, let us see that movement in Nepal was to establish democracy, while the struggle in Bolivia involved claim on an elected popular government. So you see, in India, government has been elected, but still people protest because they want the government to follow what they want, follow what they are advocating. So where is the democracy here? Where is the how come these struggles showcase us democracy? So this is what the book tells us: democracy evolves through popular struggle. It is possible that some significant decision may take place through consensus and may not involve any conflict, but there might be some decisions that might involve some confrontation. So defining movements of democracy usually involve conflict between these groups who have exercised power and those who aspire for a share in power. So different pressures group coming up, are trying to assert themselves, trying to tell the government that act as our demands, but that's not possible all the time. So democratic conflict is resolved through mass mobilization. Sometimes it is possible that the conflict is resolved by using the existing institution like the parliament or the judiciary. But when there is a deep dispute, very often these institutions themselves get involved in the dispute. These conflict and motion are based on new political organization. There is an element of spontaneity in all those historic movements. Yeah, whether it was the Jan Lokpal movement in India, I hope you are aware of it. For a new law, the new law is in place now, duly passed by the Indian Parliament. So the popular movement built pressure on the Indian Parliament, and Indian Parliament, even after being re-elected, post that movement happened in 2011, the Jan Lokpal movement in Delhi, and it engulfed the entire India. Movement for a new law, the Anti-Corruption Jan Lokpal law. Now, a new parliament was elected, new Lok Sabha was elected, and only recently we had this Jan Lokpal law. So it created pressure on whosoever becomes the ruling elite to pass that law. So this is what popular movements do. Now there is some mobilizations which happens. This is how uh, pressure groups are created. This is what keeps the government on their toes. So let us watch these things. Now again, this example from Bolivia is actually not very important for us. I want to be very specific for India. Like you see these newspaper articles, these pro-American tilt in foreign policy. This is what the AITUC says. AITUC is famous for filing PIL in the Supreme Court and getting all these government projects or private projects stalled. Bhopal gas victim, you are aware of the Union Carbide case. SEZ only way forward for growth. This is what CII says. CII is Chamber for Indian Industries. It's the type of pressure group. RWA, Resident Welfare Association, hope that their side of the story will be heard too. You book a flat in a building in an apartment, and then the builder delays, so the RWAs come together to put pressure. So these are kind of pressure groups. Understand them. They are organizations that attempt to influence government policies. Unlike political parties aim to capture power, to share power. Pressure groups do not. Pressure groups just want to build pressure on whosoever is in power and get their things done as per their uh, whatever benefits them. So these organizations are formed when people with common occupation, interest, aspiration, opinion come. There can be a Mazdoor Sangh. There can be even the IS officers have an IS association. The IPS officers have an IPS associations. Okay, so when these two people who have common interest, they come to the traders associations. Okay, then it is called a pressure group. They share common interest. Now uh, it can be right to information, anti-liquor movement, women movement, environmental movement. So all these have shared benefits. All these stakeholders, the participants of these groups have shared benefit. So usually interest groups seek to promote the interest of a particular section or group of society. Trade union, business association, this is what I told you. So they are sectional because they represent a section of society. One section, not all. Workers, businessmen, it's here, industrialist, women, maybe a religion, maybe a caste. So their principal concern is the betterment and well-being of their member, not society in general. Sometimes these organizations are not about representing the interest of one section. They represent some common or general interest that needs to be defended. The members of organization may not benefit from the cause that the organization represent. Now there is some second type that is called promotional group or public interest group. They promote collective rather than selective good. They aim to help group other than their own members. For example, a group fighting against bonded labor fights not for itself, but for those who are suffering under such bondage. So there are several groups fighting against human trafficking, prostitution, child abuse, drug abuse. So it's not like that they are the ones who are facing these kind of social evils, but they want that no one should be engulfed under these social evils. So that is why it's a more of an awareness drive, and very proactive and precautionary in nature, so that things do not happen, things do not go worse. Because if certain section of societies are damaged from all these vices that I mentioned, then the repercussion would be very dangerous. It would not lead to a stable society. It would lead to a very unstable society that can later give rise to civil war, as we have seen in many cases. So you understand the two types: one that is representing a particular community, the Mazdoor Union, the businessman, IS association; the other one that is trying to protect a certain group, a certain section of society: bonded laborers, prostitutions, racket, child sex abuse, so on and so forth. So two types we have seen here. And in case of interest group, the group involved with movement also include a very wide variety. Yes. So what they want, most of the movement are issue specific. Like the Jan Lokpal was about bringing a law that would abate the corruption problem in India, and that seek to achieve a single objective within a limited time frame. Others are more general or generic movement that seek to achieve a broad goal, like the environment concern, reduce the pollution. That would be a very generic type of movement here that is given here. women movement, Sardar Sarovar Dam. Medha Patekar has kind of all her life she has opposed the building of Sardar Sarovar Dam, but the building is the dam is very much in place now on Narmada. Because what was her demand, that once the dam is built, the people living on the sides of Narmada River would be displaced. They would be on the edge. They would be marginalized more than ever, and there would be very difficult conditions for them to survive. However, government had words with those who were protesting. Government said that we will offer you a fair bit of compensation. We'll be rehabilitate you, so nothing to worry about. Let us build the dam. So the dam is now there. The dam is very much happening now. These are single issue movement. Jan Lokpal, Narmada Bachao, they are single issue movement. They can be contrasted with movement that are long term and involve more and more issues. The environmental movement and women movement are example of such movement. There is no single organization that control or guides such movement. Environment movement is a label for a large number of organizations and issue specific movement. So environment is an issue. Many organizations are working for it. So how do these movements, or how do these institutions, the groups, influence politics? So they try to gain public support and sympathy for their goal and activity by carrying out information campaign, organizing meetings, filing petition, etc. So they kind of propagate what their idea is, so that people become aware of their cause and sympathize with them, lend support to their cause. They often organize protest activity like strikes or disrupting government program. Worker organization, employee association, and most of the movement group often resort to these tactics. So, what is the idea behind doing this? That they attract the attention of the masses. They bring government to its knees, so that they are forced to obey what they say. Many a times, government does not, because it's like arm pulling tactic with the government. Business group often employ professional lobbyists or sponsor expensive advertisement. Now, lobbying is something that business groups actively deal with, and they have their professional corporate lobbyist. I'm not sure if you have heard this name, Neera Radia. So she was a corporate lobbyist who used to fix ministers in UPA too. So please don't write these things. But then there are certain lobbyists who even went up to the extent of fixing union cabinet ministers in UPA2 government. So why would they were doing that? The crux is that because such a such person in such a such ministry would do us a lot of favor, would serve the lobby also. So interest groups and movement do not directly engage in party politics. They seek to exert influence on political parties. Almost all political parties at some point of time have been influenced by the lobbyist or the interest groups. Businessmen, big business houses donate generously to all political parties, so that whosoever comes in power, their work is being done. No one stops them. So at times, most of the movement take a political stance without being a party. They have political ideology and political position on major issues, but they do not go with the party. They have their own independent existence, despite having the same political ideology. In some instances, the pressure group are either formed or led by the leaders of political parties, or act as extended arm of parties. This AIUTUC, it's a wing of CPI actually. Bharat Kisan Sangh, Bharat Mazdoor Sangh. It's affiliated to the BJP and RSS. So all these parties have their own worker union. They have their worker forum. They have their economic forum, farmers forum, Dalit forum. So it's an arm. That is what is written here. That uh, it is an extended arm of political parties. But like this, sometimes political parties grow out of the movement, like Aam Aadmi Party, full and fledged came out of the Jan Lokpal movement that happened in 2001. The Assam Gan Parishad in Assam, they were fighting for independent Assam and Ulfa. Now they are into mainstream politics in India. DMK and AIDMK, both these Dravidian parties, people from Tamil Nadu must be aware of it. They have a long, strong reform movement that went up to 30s and 40s. The Tamil Pride, and DMK was also emphasizing on the Dalit Pride along with the Tamil Pride. So in most the cases, relationship between parties and interest, our movement group is not so direct. They often take positions that are opposed to each other, yet they are in dialogue and negotiation. This is again the crux of democracy. You may agree, you may not agree, but you must agree to disagree. And for that, there has to be dialogues and negotiations. So, is their influence healthy? That depends on the way they exert their influence. If they are doing it peacefully and democratically, all for it. If they are blackmailing, if every other day they are doing protest, if they are not allowing the trains to run, if they are not allowing the factories to work, I'm just summing it up for you, whatever is there in these chapters, then certainly not done. You cannot hold the government to ransom, you cannot hold the citizens to ransom, because I, being a common citizen, might not agree with what you say. This is what Voltaire said. You will study this in your optional. I disagree with what you say, but I'll defend till death of your right to say it. So when I am defending till death of your right to say what I even disagree with, you have no rights to cause troubles to me. So do not block the roads for long. There are people going to the offices. I'm talking about normal times, not this lockdown time. So they are being hampered. Their working conditions are being jeopardized. There are patients who have to be rushed to the hospitals. There are small kids going to the school and then coming back from the school to their respective homes. So don't block road, don't cause inconvenience to the common citizen. Do not disrupt the train, do not disrupt the public mode of transport. Talk to the government. um, uh, there are other forums, sit on those designated forums, like in Jantar Mantar in Delhi. Whenever you come here, go to Jantar Mantar. There is an observatory there, and just beneath that, just beside that, there is a protest site. Uh, Bearing the lockdown, every day someone or the other is sitting there with a placard protesting about something. People from all over India come there to protest. So do these things. There are designated sites where you can go and do these things, not in the middle of the road, because there are other people who have nothing to do with your concern, and their life is getting difficult. So this is what we can say, that you have all the rights to protest, but then democratically, without causing any kind of inconvenience, without causing much inconvenience to the other people, and without trying to hold the government to the ransom, because government is a democratically elected one. Or if you think that government is illegitimate, then you yourself fight the election, replace the government, become the government, implement all the what you want to do. Democracy, again, that would be democracy. So this is what is given in your book, and this is the gist of what I have summed up. The last few paragraphs are, in fact, I have told you more what is not even given in this class 10th NCRT. So I hope you understood it, and please read this chapter, watch this video. Whatever doubts you have, you can send me on the Telegram itself. I'll happily resort to it. I've got few people lined up there. I'll soon reply you with suitable examples. So keep studying and take very good care of yourself. We are meeting again. Bye.